Hey, everybody, welcome back. This is podcast number 9. We have already broken our goal of posting once a week, but there was a pandemic and our internet shit out on us. So here we are.
That's fair.
And we're going to record and get back on the horse. Sound good?
That sounds good.
All right. Tell everybody what we're going to talk about this time.
So we haven't been on for the last 2 weeks, I think. We've been kind of all over the place. And as many of you probably all know, there's been some pretty crazy stuff going on in the world. So I think we're just going to reflect a little bit on that. And then honestly, being honest with you and with everybody else, I'm not here to spread any misinformation or any kind of political anything. I honestly just want to talk about like our experience and what we've been through and kind of how we've been adjusting our daily life as much as we've been like kind of researching and reading and, understanding basically as much as we possibly can as just like normal civilian, non-medical working scientific people.
Just to be clear, our situation is not going to be the same as everybody else's.
Oh yeah.
But, we're going to do our best to recap what we've been doing and kind of share our experience.
Yeah, the best we can do is just share our personal journey through all this stuff.
And on top of that, we have a little cherry to finish the whole deal off. Our daughter broke her arm before this all happened. So we're in the process of healing that little thing. And so it's been a wild ride the last 2 or 3 weeks. Just to add it in, I have a little bit of a hoarse throat, chest situation, little cough going on. So I'm hoping it's just my normal allergies or whatever that kicks in and gives me a cough this time of year.
Worst timing ever.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I don't know. Time wise, it's probably going to turn out to be the coronavirus for me because I was like, oh, we won't get it. We live out in the middle of nowhere. And that's karma. That's my karma. So if it does turn out and I have it, I will keep you updated. The next podcast will probably be more on that. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, let's kick it off. Let's talk about the broken arm first.
Yeah. So this happened right before school was canceled, actually. So it was the 13th, 14th of March.
Wait.
Or just before.
No, sorry to interrupt you. We should probably fill everybody in. What is going on in Michigan as of right now today?
So today, the official shelter-in-place ordinance, or I guess, what was it? Executive order.
Okay.
Was officially is officially put into place right now. So 12:17 a.m. right now. So it is official. So any non-essential businesses or activity or travel or anything like that is basically banned. And I believe
in the state of Michigan.
And I believe it's a misdemeanor if you. I'm not gonna see. And this is where
I heard that there's going to be a bunch of fines. Like if businesses refuse to shut down, they're going to get hit with fines. I
believe that's what I did watch her state of not State of the Union, but basically her announcement
her
today.
Live update. She was all over the news like nationally today. Also, like filling in everybody like ABC and NBC and stuff.
I think a lot of states have been making some pretty hard decisions on what to do because obviously there's massive action at the federal level and then also at the state level. So, and I know she was one of the first governors to close down schools.
Yeah, that was really quick.
It was, and
that happened.
That was 2 weeks ago.
So we had every school in the state of Michigan was shut down. Public school, or was it colleges too?
Some private, actually, Michigan State closed
State
before.
Shut down
the same week, but before.
But public schools in Michigan were shut down about 2 weeks ago.
Basically,
so our kids have been home with us. Carly works from home, and we're home all the time anyway. So, but now we have all 3 kids here, and that's been going on. Is this the second week already?
Well, and what's interesting is this is technically Lila's spring break and probably a lot of northern Michigan kids' spring break. So it's really surreal. This whole thing is so surreal still, and it feels like the last 2 weeks have just been like a day, but also like a full year is what it's felt like.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me still. And I'm sure to a lot of people, but yeah, I think the last couple of weeks have been interesting because, it's challenging for us to explain to Lila, and like Lauren, I don't think is fully understanding that. Well, she knows
No.
Lila's home, but I don't think she would fully.
They just know that they don't get to go to dance class.
Yeah, I know.
For the most part.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we don't get to go to dance class.
Right. Well, and
they don't
they're
get up and go to
starting
school.
they're starting to ask questions. I know Lila's been like, Mom, can I go have a play date? Can we go see our friends? And we are fully participating in social distancing. We have not been going anywhere that we don't need to. I
did go into Ace Hardware.
You did.
But they were like on lockdown, and I was the only person in the store.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot of things and read a lot of things, and I won't quote or repeat because I do not want to spread any misinformation whatsoever. But from what I've understood, we're just taking the most precautions that we can and being as serious as we can about it because from what I've seen, it makes sense to me that, if most or all people that don't need to be out don't go out, then it'll stop.
We're up in northern Michigan, and number one, it's not a lot of people to begin with, but like before the schools, so after the schools were announced that they shut down, everybody kind of got the like red flag of like, oh, this is going to be serious. Well, or it's going to be at least 3 weeks.
Side note to that too.
Originally, for kids to be home.
Total like little tangent. Friday. So the announcement that they were closing schools, I believe happened the 12th, maybe the 11th of March. So it was actually Thursday night.
Yeah.
Governor Whitmer, I think, basically said, hey,
right.
Just so everyone knows, like starting Monday the 16th, we're not going to let the kids go to school or we're going to cancel school. And I remember waking up Friday and thinking like, oh, like, she just got one more day left. Yeah. Like we should just take her, like, whatever they're going to do to like give the kids extra schoolwork or whatever.
What's the point?
Yeah.
like,
and
why would you send her if they canceled it?
Well, and at that point,
we kept her home Friday.
Yeah. And I didn't fully, I don't think I was fully wrapping my head around how serious it was going to be. And I was like, oh, no big deal. And not to say that there were like cases confirmed or that there was anything up here that was like a, concrete red flag
near us, like anywhere. This was before anybody in Michigan had been tested or had been confirmed. People just knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get ahead of it by shutting down the schools, which I think is really smart.
I agree.
Yeah. So we kept Lila out, and she was like confused because she wanted to go see her friends.
No.
And so originally the public schools were to be shut down for 3 weeks. It was basically 3 weeks. And Lila had she broken her arm? She had just broken her arm. So I'll just fill you guys in. So our girls, they roughhouse and play. A lot. We're usually on their butts, like, hey, knock it off, you're gonna get hurt. And we've done an excellent job, I believe, of keeping them from injuring themselves. And most of the dangerous things, it's like, we nip it in the bud, or nip it in the butt, as I usually say. We did a pretty good job of keeping them like safe. And of course, like the one thing I'm standing like cutting up chicken for dinner, and Carly was in another room, and I hear this like skin flop. It sounded like just like skin hitting the ground. And I looked over, and Lila had it looked like she had fallen off just the chair or the arm of our couch.
Very uneventful too.
Yeah.
She wasn't doing anything
wasn't
crazy.
Running.
She was just like,
she wasn't doing anything.
She said she leaned too far over the arm of it and just must have slipped off or something.
Yeah. So I hear this sound, and Carly heard it, and she was like, what was that? And I looked over, and Lila, she was crying, but I was like, in my mind, I was like, okay, get up. Like, you fell a foot. I'm like, okay, yeah, it probably startled you. Whatever. I gave her like the tough dad, like I had chicken on my hands. I'm like, she laid on the ground for a second, and I was like, okay, come on, get up. You're tough. And because sometimes she'll get like a little scratch or a little bump, and she will act like it's the end of the world. Like she She demands Band-Aids. Like, I mean, it's a big deal over nothing. And I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking, oh, it's this. Like, oh, I'm like, come on.
That's fair. She does not milk it, but I think she gets a little over.
There's no gray area. It's like the
true.
tiniest little things. And then when she actually is hurt, they look the same.
Right. That's fair.
And so I'm like, okay, get up. I'm like, she gets up and she's crying. And I said, go talk to your mom. Like, I'm cooking dinner. I'm like, okay, whatever. So she's like, I'm thinking she's really tired because it's late. We're eating dinner. She's about to go to bed. I'm thinking she's cranky. And, an hour later, she eats dinner and she's sitting on the couch and she's still kind of crying. And she's like acting like her arm hurts. But I kept going. So I'd point, I'd walk over. I say, okay, point to where it hurts. The first time she did it, she pointed like to the top part of her wrist where the radius bone is, like right on her wrist. And she pointed there. And then she'd point like on her elbow. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, now she's really just going for like sympathy because she wasn't pointing to a specific spot. And I know personally from breaking bones in my body, when it breaks, when you break a bone, and I broke like basically the same bone that Lila broke. It was like right in a very specific spot where it hurt, and it was like right there. And she kept showing me different spots on her arm, and I'm like, she's out for sympathy. So we put her to bed. She slept. The next morning, she had dance class. We got up. We got her to dance class. She went and did dance. But as she was in dance class, we noticed she wasn't using her arms much.
She wasn't lifting. She wasn't the dead giveaway for me was she wasn't lifting her arm up like this. Like she was kind of moving it out, but she'd never lift it up.
Yeah.
That was weird.
So we'd say like, how are you doing? Like we asked her, does your arm hurt? And she'd be like, no, it's okay.
She's
and then
such a
sometimes
tough
she'd go,
kid.
yeah, it kind of hurts. So we were giving her Advil or like kids Motrin. And I was thinking like, if anything, she like bruised it or something.
Yeah.
But when
it didn't swell and it didn't bruise.
No bruising,
at all.
no swelling.
It was
I
so
couldn't
weird.
tell the difference. I even this makes me feel bad. I grabbed it and squeezed on her arm to see if it was broken. Because I'm like, with a truly broken, like in half bone, if you squeeze on a broken bone, you're like, whoa, ouch. Yeah. She didn't even say it hurt. So I'm like, there's no way it's broken. Well, anyway, we ended up taking her in to get an x-ray, and me being a jackass dad, it was broken. It was the ulna.
Her ulna.
The ulna. So it's the bone on the outside of the forearm. And she had done, I'm going to say it wrong, green stick, a green stick fracture, which is exactly what it sounds like, where if you took a green stick that's not dry and bent it, it would crack, but it wouldn't break all the way through.
Yeah.
So basically she had a crack in her arm. And of course, now she's got a cast from her knuckles on her hand up past her elbow, and it's bent at a 90 degree. So she's been in a cast for 3 weeks now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, of course, when this whole school shutdown thing happened, we were thinking like, you're going to luck out, kid. You don't even have to go to school. Like,
I'm actually really thankful that we have her home and she can just kind of rest her arm and it's not doing anything crazy.
The bad thing is she has not learned her lesson at all. She's still jumping around on the couches and like doing all the stuff.
I think she gets that from me. I think I was a wild child.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the funny thing is when we were, when did we take her? We took her right after, was it Saturday? We took her Saturday evening. Yeah. So we got ready up. We took her to dance class, which I still like blows my mind because we asked her and she was kind of like, and then she was like, yeah, I want to go. And we're like, okay. But we took her to dance.
This is not an excuse for us not uploading podcasts, but for whatever reason, our internet, which is basically a SIM card connected to a router, which we basically pay to have like mobile phone service with data through T-Mobile. Come on, T-Mobile. We've had issues with this, but now we have a box where we can get download at like 10 megabits per second download. But as soon as we start to upload something like these podcasts, it kicks us off the internet.
Yeah.
So it will not upload. If anybody has a clue of how we can fix this, please let us know. So That Saturday we were actually we drove all the way down south into Michigan to visit family.
Well,
and
and
steal Wi-Fi.
we're not crazy people. We know that we could go somewhere to like,
Yeah.
a Starbucks or something
It's
and
just
like
cool
sit around. But we figured we'd just kill two birds with one stone, and we
Yeah.
went down and visited family and kind of hopped on Wi-Fi, and
Yeah, I mean,
we're
we just
so
did a family
depressed at
visit
how
and-
fast the upload went when we were down there. So while we were heading out of town, our plan was, and actually it was really funny. I called our primary care, or I'm sorry, the pediatrician, and I said, "Hey, our daughter fell off the couch. Her arm is still bothering her, and it's been about a day later. Should we bring her in?" And they said, "Well, we actually don't have the capabilities to do x-rays here. So you'll have to either take her to urgent care or to a specialist." And we're like, "Well, okay." And at this point it was like 6:00, I think, maybe 5:30 or 6. So we decided to just take her to the urgent care, which actually they're pretty fast where we are.
There's usually only like 2 people.
Yeah, there's like never anyone in there.
Nobody there.
So we took her to urgent care on our way out of town. And it took probably about 45 minutes to an hour we were in there. But we walked in and I love Lila. She's in the best, she's the like biggest cheerleader, best spirited girl. You would never know she would have had a broken arm. Like she was like so entertaining and so like gregarious with all the nurses and the staff in there. She was just like talking and just totally normal. And so we walked in and oh my gosh, the nursing staff and like the doctors were so awesome. And I just, especially this time of like what's going on, I just like, I can't even, the last couple of weeks and then now, just knowing like personal accounts of nurses and doctors that I know that I like went to school with and just all over the world, it like blows my mind. I feel like such a worthless piece of crap where I'm like, I don't do anything good for anybody. Like everybody else is amazing that is in the medical field. But anyways, that was a tangent. So I took her in. They were like, "Hi, honey, like, how's it going?" or whatever. And she was like, "Good." And they're like, "Why are you here? What's wrong with you?" And she's like, "I hurt my arm." And they're like, "Okay, well, we'll help you out." They were so sweet. Yeah. So the couple people that came in, the first doctor that came in, she ended up doing kind of a similar thing that we did. She held her arm out and she said, "Okay, does this hurt? Does this hurt? Does this hurt?" And all of a sudden, like Lila would go, "No, no." And then she went, "Yeah." And the doctor goes, "Okay." And you could see it in her face. She was like, "I think I know exactly what that is." In her brain, she was probably like, "Okay, it's a green stick fracture. Like it's not anything serious," because she's not screaming. There's nothing popping out of her skin. So, so the doctor goes out and she goes, "Okay, we're going to get the x-ray machine. We'll be right back." So, man, when I was little and I had to get an x-ray, it was like you had to be walked down to another building. You had to go in and wear like a full suit of like lead. Like it was crazy. They had like the big slides that they put in the thing and the light that they had to like readjust. So
the person ran down the hallway like half a mile to take
like,
it.
"Hold really still.
Yeah, don't move."
Yeah. So that is not a thing anymore. Apparently there's like an x-ray machine on like a cart.
I'm surprised it's not a mobile app yet.
Oh my God.
Just like
no joke. It'll be a thing.
Yeah.
It'll be a thing. It basically is. It was just on wheels. So they rolled this thing in. They pop this little table, comes like out. I wish I would have taken a video, but this thing pops out and she goes, "Okay, I'm going to put your arm in." And it had the light where you can like line it up or whatever.
Yeah. Crosshairs.
So, yep. So she lined it all up. She took one flat down and then turned over. Or maybe it was like
the one direction you couldn't tell.
No, it was so weird.
All.
So one of maybe you know what? It was straight up and down. It was straight up and down and then flat. That's what they did. So
when the bones were basically lined up over top,
you couldn't see
anything.
Yeah. So it's so funny. So she took 2 pictures, I think, or 2 x-rays. So the first one, she actually said like, "Okay, Mom, we need you to go out of the room," because obviously there's still a radiation or whatever it could be. So I'm sure as a liability, I had to like be standing farther away. Yeah. So they put the little lead vest on Lila and like took the first one, but the screen was kind of like angled up so I could still see it from where I was standing. And I'm like kind of looking because I was really curious, and I was looking over and the picture popped up right away. And it like blew my mind because and again, like when we had to do it, it took like 30 minutes. They had to like develop the x-ray and the film. I don't know how they do it, but they had to like develop it like in a lab or whatever. And with this one, she like pushed the button and it was like right there. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm over here just like my mind's being blown and my kid's poor arm is broken. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I see the picture pop up and it's kind of like, you know, like when you go to like look at a photo on your phone or on the internet and it takes a second to load and it's kind of blurry and you're like, okay, I know what that is, but I can't make out the details. And then all of a sudden it loads. So I'm looking and I'm like, oh, okay, that doesn't look broken. And all of a sudden it loaded fully. And I was like, oh shit, like her arm's broken.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to like react because Lila's just like, I'm being a good girl. And I was like, and so I just said to the lady, because the lady goes back and she like looks at it, and I know she saw it too.
Immediately. She's like,
and I was like,
what it is.
And all I said was, she is a tough girl. And the lady goes, yes, she is. Like, it's broken and I can see it. So it was so weird. I was like, my mind was blown. My kid's arm's broken at the same time. I'm like, oh my God, there's so many things happening in my brain right now. And Lila's just like, I'm the best kid ever. And I was like, you poor thing. I just wanted to give her a hug.
I felt like a dick because I was like, tough it out. You're fine.
Well, and that's like, you know, not to stereotype, but like most dads, I think, are probably more on that end of the spectrum. But I also was like,
if I would have squeezed it and she would have been like, ow, I would have known. I squeezed it right where it was broken.
Yeah, she didn't really react to it. Maybe
it was like nothing.
Maybe it just wasn't swollen or anything yet. But what was so weird is it never bruised. It never swelled. No. Nothing ever really.
She never really even, besides a little bit like my arm's kind of aching, she never was like, you know, like that shocking. Like when she did it and you were like, I wonder if she broke it. And I was like, there's no way. I was like, I've broken a handful of bones. And I'm like, when you break a bone, your body reacts as in like, oh, something's wrong.
See, I don't know.
This is wrong. Like that's not like a bruise. Like, oh shit. Yeah. Something's majorly wrong.
The only thing that I've done until recently when I stubbed my toe and I think I have a broken toe. I literally said out loud, and Lila wouldn't have understood this, but I said out loud because I knew you were in the kitchen and you heard me. I was like, I'm going to pull a Michael Scott. And when she's in there getting her little arm, I'm going to stick my foot up in the thing and like see if my toe is broken.
Toe, actually?
Yeah, because
I'm positive you broke your toe.
It was bruised. It was black and blue for like 2
She
days.
got up in the middle of the night because Adam was crying in his crib. And she jumped out of bed and walked around the corner of the bed and just ransacked her pinky toe. Was it your pinky?
No, it was the one
your ring finger toe. Just demolished it. And I heard like a crunch in the middle of the night. And I was like, babe, what was that? And she just was like, I think I just broke my toe.
I laid in bed. Because it
sounded like it hurt.
It hurts so.
I was like,
it still aches.
The first thing that I thought went through my mind was she's gonna be so pissed that I didn't get out of bed and get at him. I was like, she's gonna be so mad that I didn't get up and get him. It was
so weird. I did that, and then I remember laying in bed half asleep, just feeling my foot throbbing, and I was like, that's not
you
just like a whoopsie stub toe.
No.
That's like my whole body hurts because of that one thing.
It turned like plum purple.
It was bad. And I don't think you can really do anything for a broken toe other than like immobilize it, but I didn't.
You just walk it off basically.
But anyways, Lila is so tough. So like that whole thing, the whole process went through, and then they were so sweet. They were doing a I don't know, soft cast or whatever. They basically had her arm in like a makeshift cast until we could get like a real cast on. But she was just like, the nurses kept looking at me and they're like, are you sure she broke her arm?
She was all pumped up because she was going to get a colored cast.
Oh, she was so excited.
She was like, oh, yay.
It was so funny. She was so excited, but she was in such good spirits. But the nurse that was helping her, she goes, I have a 5-year-old too. And like, you know, she hasn't broken an arm yet, but I know she's come close and like, whatever. But she goes, what are you going to tell your friends at school? What did you do?
This is the urgent care person.
Yeah, and Lila goes, I fell off a couch. And the lady goes, are you sure you weren't fighting tigers and you put your arm up and they tried to bite you and their teeth
broke your arm?
Yeah, your arm broke their teeth and it was so like strong. And she was like, she looked at this nurse and she was like, and then she looked at me and she was like, I can say that? Like, yeah, that's so
She's
cool.
like, no, I fell off a couch.
Yeah, she go, I fell off a couch. It was so cute though. But yeah, oh my gosh, we're going to be in trouble with that kid. The only thing that I've done though, like you've actually broken your arm where you've had to get it casted. I have jammed fingers, sprained ankles in like volleyball
this
and
is how-
softball. But
yeah.
that's the only thing that I've done that's anywhere close to like that amount of pain is just childbirth. That's it. I've never broken anything.
And I've never given birth to anything. So
you have some pretty big bowel movements, I'd say.
I've had a couple of Qdoba experiences where it's probably like that, but I
Babe,
can't tell.
I'm crowding. Yes, we do that.
I told the doctor when we went in the first time, when we thought we were giving birth to Adam, that I had to use the bathroom, that I was crowning. I was at 3 centimeters.
Oh my God.
He didn't think it was funny.
Oh.
So this is how I know we're in deep shit with Lila, pain-wise and learning-wise. She basically broke her arm in half.
And break it in half.
I watched her fall on the ground and catch herself with her broken arm in a cast. And I said to her today, today? Yeah, she came flying around the corner and she fell on the ground. And I said, Lila, if you're watching this 20 years from now, I said, Lila, do you think what you just did is smart? And she looked at me, she said, no, Dad. And I said, what did you just do? She said, I fell down. And I said, and what did you catch yourself with? She goes, well, I fell on my butt. And I said, I literally heard a big loud thud and watched your cast basically dig into the ground. God. And she said, well, I kind of landed on my leg. And I said, Lila, what's going to happen if you break your other arm? Or what if you break your leg? Then what's going to happen? She said, that wouldn't be very much fun. And I'm like,
man.
That right there is how I know we're in trouble. Because she goes, yeah, that wouldn't be very much fun. Fun. Like, she's like, it wouldn't be that bad.
You know what my dad used to say to me? He used to say that I was a bull in a china cabinet. And I resented that as a child because I always thought, Dad, I'm just having fun. I'm just running around being a crazy kid like every other normal kid. No, I understand now fully what he meant by that, because we have that now.
Yeah, so now we have all 3 children that are now at home full time. The snow where we live has not melted off yet, so we have it's getting there.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert!
It's supposed to be like 50s this next week.
It still doesn't matter. We live in a polar vortex, and it will not.
No.
It'll be May before the snow melts. It
comes in handy in times like this when you're in a pandemic and you don't want to be around people because it's now ordered by law.
Yeah. So even if we wanted to go outside and play in the yard, we can't because it's just snow and crappy and gross.
So we're close.
But we have all 3 kids. They have officially ganged up on us and are refusing to take naps of any kind at any time of the day.
It's so weird.
And I was informed today while I was using the bathroom that Adam had climbed up on top of Lila's bed. Not onto the bed, but up onto the headboard of the bed.
What?
Like the footboard, the part.
Oh, God.
Yeah, our son who's 1, had climbed up and tried to get a book down off the bookshelf. And Lila walked in and said, Dad, Adam's on my bed. And I said, that's okay. She said, no, you need to come see this. Our 5-year-old said, no, you need to come see this. And I walked in.
Was I working?
Yeah, we were just sitting there. And he was standing up on like the end of the bed trying to get a book off the bookshelf, which he did. Yeah. I mean, he got the book down. But yeah, so apparently now we are refusing to take naps. We are stuck in our house until further notice, and the snow has not melted.
The amount of energy it takes to just keep children alive is...
I heard that parenting is basically like 90% of the time you're just doing what it takes to keep them from killing themselves, and the other 10% is them fighting you about it. But I disagree. It's like 99 and 1. It's basically like 99% of the time you're just like,
oh my goodness,
don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that. You're going to hurt yourself.
It doesn't help that they're they're like strength in numbers. Like when they all get going, oh man.
I thought we were going to have more time before Adam got to a point where he was part of this.
I agree. He is fully in the tribe now.
He is the worst.
Yeah, he leads it.
He was sitting on the couch today. You saw this. He was sitting on the couch today. And Lauren, bless her little tiny heart, was leaned up watching. She was watching TV with like leaned up against the couch. He ran over there, tried to put her in a chokehold and tackle her.
He saw an opportunity.
Yeah, he was like, I'm getting this.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to,
Easy pickings here, sis. I'm going to grab you by the neck and put you in a chokehold.
And I know from my experience having a brother that you can only pick on your brother for so long until he's like,
he's almost there with Lauren.
Remember all those times? And now I'm bigger than you, so have good luck.
But that's usually like 10, 11, 12. Like when your little brother catches up, he's 1.
Yeah.
He's going to have Lauren caught in a year.
Lauren's
in trouble.
Yeah.
Lila, it'll be a while.
Yeah.
Now, they will need, if Adam and Lauren gang up on Lila, though, it'll be interesting. Because I think if you double their body weight and put that against Lila, I think they might be able to hold their own in like a year.
Oh, boy.
Which will be interesting.
So okay.
Anyway, I don't know where we're going with this. We covered the broken arm.
So I was gonna kind of circle back to like our current situation current situation of I think the world and meager us. We're
circling back to lockdown.
Like I said before, like the amount of like heroic things that are happening in the world right now and people who are like battling this, I feel so useless. And like I keep thinking like how, like I don't know, maybe it's just human nature to think like how can I help? Like when there's a crisis, I think people go into like what can I do to help mode. And in my brain, I'm trying to absorb as much information as possible, and I'm like, okay, what I'm hearing is I can just stay home and keep the fuck away from everything and just like whether we're infected or not, just stay the hell away from people. And I'm like, I can do that. No problem. Like whatever I need to do.
We've done a good job of that.
We have. But it's insane how, oh my gosh, it's just, it's so crazy how many people are just putting their lives on the line right now, literally to help other people. And it's.
See, the weird thing is, and I'll say this, to me, like the way that everybody's thinking right now, and I know Carly probably did not understand this about me through our whole marriage, was like, this is going to sound weird. Growing up with cats and dogs and weird things, I always had cat hair and like weird stuff that I was always very aware of. So like, as an example, when you and I started dating, anytime you would put a cup like this cup with no top, you would set it down like below the table or like on the floor. I'd be like, pick that damn cup up. I'm like, do you know how much stuff is going to get in that cup? Like that's airborne stuff. And then like one of my, I'm going to out myself right here. One of my least favorite things in the entire world, and I hate it. I'll do it, but I try to get out of it any way I can, is to put my hands on someone else's like food or dirty dishes or wetness that came out of someone's mouth that is not mine. I've always had this like, I'm not a germaphobe because I've done a lot of germy things in my life, but it's like
just something about it.
When I'm sticking my hand like down in somebody else's cup that I've like, I watched them slobber all over, I get like, there's
That's
a
weird.
It's like, I just know like all the stuff that you can get, it's like, I don't know. So the way that I've always lived my life is like going to parks. Here's a great example. When we had kids, Carly loves to go to parks. And like your family's like a big park family.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's take the kids to the park. And I'm like, this is fucking gross. I'm like, this is disgusting. I'm like, do you know how many dirty ass kids are running around here? And most people are like, oh, Matt, relax. Not until a pandemic happens. Then everybody understands what's going through my brain. All the grossness that's on all these things and touching all these kids and shit.
I will say, I was the one thing that's majorly changed my brain in my brain during this whole thing is how much I am really like, sorry, I was just trying to hear this. How much I really am more lax than you are when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And I think this has really changed my perspective. And I've read and seen a lot. Mark Rober, I will cite this, or I don't know if we'll link it or anything.
Don't ruin it for me.
I won't ruin it. But Mark Rober, who I believe used to work for NASA, he's got an awesome YouTube channel. It's very educational. He's a really great guy. He made a video about how germs spread, and I think he made it during this time because in the video, he was in a school because he was like doing an experiment with kids. But he was in a school and somebody came out over the PA system and made the announcement like, we've just been informed that school is going to be closed for 3 weeks. And all the kids were like, yeah. So I think it was actually during this time. It wasn't like an old video that he's like promoting. But it's super interesting. I mean, he's
very good at doing relevant things.
He is. And it's really, he takes something that's really complex or really involved, and he makes it really simple to understand, which I think you're really good at that. And I really appreciate people who have that ability to take a lot of really complex information, filter it all down to like, here's what you need to know, and here's how I'm going to package it up for you and let you know why it's relevant to you. Like, and I watched that and I was like, holy shit, I'm a gross person. Like, I need to take so much better care of, like, I know for sure, like, we encourage the kids to wash hands like before dinner and like after they go to the bathroom. But I guess like when Lila gets home from school or like stuff like that, I'm like, I guess I don't really push that as much. Like, maybe I should help.
So sorry. My beard was like this today. And I trimmed it, and
gross.
Sorry,
Speaking
I
of
totally
hairs and germaphobe.
I totally just pulled a beard hair out.
Oh, gross! You don't even get to explain yourself.
I missed like 2 hairs right there, and I've been trying to pull that hair out for like 3 hours.
Ew.
Sorry, I just got it.
Anyways, so I don't know if we'll link that video or anything like that. But it was a really cool video. So, anyways, a few things that I've learned from this experience is, man, I probably need to pay attention to that stuff a lot more than I do. And I thought I was pretty good at it so far, but I don't think so.
So I want to, let's throw some controversy out there. A little bit.
Maybe?
A little bit.
Okay.
So where do I want to begin? So this whole pandemic that's happening, in the amount of time, like me, I'll start here. Me being in a field for a number of years where I know that products are made and designed and sent back and forth overseas, it's very common for people in the United States to fly back and forth to China regularly. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are people like their full-time job is just going back and forth to China.
That would be exhausting.
Yeah, and I mean, typically in the beginning of a year, when December rolls through, the fiscal year begins in January. That's usually when new products are launched. Like, it's a very big time for manufacturing, and people that do like QA, quality assurance, stuff like that, are going back and forth. And I mean, they travel a lot to China and, Taiwan and wherever. The first thing that crossed my mind was that when they announced like this virus had broken out and started spreading, and it was traced back to December, like my thought was like, it's not going to take, like the way that they're saying it's spreading is like this, like a ripple effect where it's like the center is in China apparently, and it's like slowly going like through Europe, and now it's in the United States. My first thought was like, it's probably been here for 3 months.
Yeah.
Like you've probably got people that are catching this shit like all over the place. And not saying that I'm a genius in this aspect or not, but you were sick with this weird thing that even the doctor like couldn't tell you what it was.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, well, sometimes you just get a bacterial thing, and it's like, it hangs around for a month. Like, they didn't answer your questions.
She said sometimes viruses can hang
around.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So it was a very vague answer.
That was in January.
Yeah, and Lila, I mean, we made a podcast the night that Lila came and was like, hey, I'm having trouble breathing. She had a fever.
So
she
weird.
came down with pneumonia, like out of nowhere.
That was really weird.
Like that was just like, what? You know, like that was really weird. She didn't have any of like the symptoms. She had a little cough for a little bit.
Oh, it gives me the chills.
And then just all of a sudden she had pneumonia.
Yeah.
And then it went away. And just recently your mom had a case where, like, from what I've heard, she was basically like,
she was laid out for
bedridden
like a
for,
week.
like,
My
4
dad
days.
was genuinely concerned to the point where he texted us, like my brother and sister and I, and he was like, hey, mom's like not doing good. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that's not like my mom to be that sick.
Right. So
and that
it's
was
just,
in February or
so like
end
a month
of February.
ago. Yeah, like a month ago.
That's so weird.
So like people are gonna be like roasting.
Well,
me for
and
this is
what I'm saying. I don't want to like spread misinformation, and like it genuinely could have just been a bad flu or cold or something like that. Also,
because I was listening to some stuff last night with
so creepy,
like doctors discussing basically like the rate of the actual virus spreading compared to the rate of tests becoming available to actually confirm cases of it.
Yeah.
You know, so like there's an actual spreading of the virus that's happening.
Right.
But, you know,
can you accurately depict
and
that?
they all said yesterday on the video, this guy was like, yeah, I'm a doctor. He's like, we're guessing at this point because we just do not have the ability to test everyone to know.
Right.
So like as it stands right now,
terrifying that like that shit happens and you will never know.
Yeah.
Like,
well, so
in
like,
theory, you'll never really understand fully what happens.
And there are like, so there are a number of professional athletes. Like I know for a fact there's NBA players that have been tested and
they travel all the time. Like,
but some of them are asymptomatic. They're not showing any signs at all. Yeah. And they've been positively tested, you know, so, or it's been positively confirmed. So like me sitting here right now, you can probably hear it in my voice. I've got something going on. And I mean, like, I'm not going to be rushing out of the house to go get tested for it. But there's a chance that I have it right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like part of me wonders, and we'll never know. I mean, the fact of the matter is we will never know that maybe, you know, 50% of the population in Michigan alone might already have it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think I know that I think this came from the CDC, and like, I'm very data driven. Like, part of my job is being really involved in data. So I do not want to say something that is inaccurate. But I believe I've seen a statistic that's like 40 to 70% of the United States will have this, but that doesn't mean that everybody will be in critical condition or even show symptoms. But they're estimating that anywhere from 40 to 70% would in theory test positive.
Yeah. But yeah. So it's like,
that's a huge percentage.
That's a major percentage.
Probably pretty accurate. Like,
I was watching this thing last night. So of course I'm like giving Carly shit because she's like anxious about it.
Hold on.
Let's you gotta calm down.
Hold on.
And then I start coughing. I'm like, shit.
Well, let's settle this though. In all seriousness, I mean, whoever has watched this podcast or like knows me personally, like I skew on the anxious side of the scale. Like, I skew.
No, you live on the anxious side. I'm over
there. I'm camped out with chairs and I've got campfire.
This is gonna make a big noise. Sorry.
So I'm on the anxious side of the scale. I'm aware, you know, I manage it. I've learned a lot about myself and like how I react to things and what my best management method is for some of my anxiety. Like, for example, hate flying, cannot fly, have to mentally prepare for flying for like a month in advance. Like, it takes up too much of my energy. I absolutely despise it, but I do it and I can get through it if I need to. That being said, I'm sure I have some kind of legitimate phobia. But I think I actually said this on one of the last podcasts. I can't remember why, but we were talking about agoraphobia, which I think is like the fear of being sick in like a contained space. And I think I literally just said that.
Well, it's because you were talking about that because you knew somebody that got sick on an airplane, like flying, like puke sick on an airplane going overseas for like 10 hours.
My skin is crawling as you're saying that. I can't.
Stuck in a plane, puking and whatever for 10 hours.
So, I think it's like, it's so crazy to think that level of stuff is going on right now where people like, I mean, think about it. People are like literally not trapped, but they're being ordered to stay in a one place and like not
it's
go
basically
anywhere.
being trapped.
I mean, you're kind of confined. Yeah, you're
Same
confined. Thing. So like, it's I don't know.
It's really weird. So when we did groceries.
I don't even remember where I was just. Oh wait, sorry. Yeah, before you do that,
go ahead.
I basically like I skew on the side of like anxiety more than you. I would say you and I are probably like 2 or 3 stops away from each other if you're looking at like maybe 5.
Yeah, I'm on the side where it's like, yeah, I mean you have to be able to worry about the things that you can change and not get overly concerned or worried about things that are out of your control.
Honestly feel like that's a huge reason why I was like attracted to you as like a mate, because you balance me out big time, especially like in this situation, type of situation.
I skew on the far end of being a dick where my daughter breaks her arm and I'm like, tough it out, you're fine. And you're like,
I'm more worried and like, yeah,
we're all gonna die.
Yeah, it's no, really though. Like it was these last 2 weeks, and again, please take this with a grain of salt. Whoever's listening to this, I'm not even doing anything. I'm sitting in my house, like
out in the country.
We have children
with neighbors not within 200 yards.
We have children, and that's like a big thing to consider. And like obviously, their safety and health is. I would kill anybody to keep them safe and healthy, but it's like I'm not going into a hospital. I'm not helping people who are tested positive. Right. I'm not doing anything that I'm actually putting myself in danger. My imagination is amazing. I can just my imagination and my sense of memory is so strong that I can just basically talk myself into like
the things that come out of your mouth typically would come out of someone's mouth that was like in
a straitjacket.
No, it's like like if you worked in an ER or like you worked in like a disease unit in a hospital. That's what I would imagine you saying.
I'm okay.
But you work at home. And you haven't been in a grocery store for 2 weeks.
Something I've learned about myself over the last couple of years. I think that I knew, but I could never verbalize. I am a very empathetic person. And I don't mean that in always a positive way. Like if I see somebody going through something, I like fully can put my brain and my body and my like soul into what that person's going through. And in sometimes a very negatively impactful way, because what that does is it like psychologically, I'm going through an experience that I don't necessarily have to go through. And another part of that too is like, so for example, going on an airplane, probably most people are like, okay, I'm getting on an airplane and I'm going to fly to where I'm going. And my brain goes, okay, you're getting on an airplane. What's the worst thing that could happen? I'm not even going to tell you because you all know.
That's normal. That's normal.
But what happens is it doesn't
then you go
away.
Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Okay, the plane could go down and everybody would die. But then you're like, but what if I get diarrhea for 24 hours on the plane? You're like, what? What
it
if
spirals? I spiral.
What if I get a fever?
I spiral,
and then I have to like ask somebody for help.
Oh my God, I spiral out of control. I'm serious.
You're like, what if I eat bad Burger King and I have like gas and I have to toot a lot on the plane? You're like all these weird things.
It's so serious though.
That's what freaks you out.
I spiral. I know, I've learned.
It freaks me out thinking about going on a plane and crashing.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, but it doesn't freak me out that I'm going to have explosive diarrhea and everybody's going to know.
I feel like I've learned to control it a lot more. Honestly, like it used to be pretty bad when I was younger. Like I remember like. Legitimately, I've had a few good panic attacks in my life. But I've gotten better at controlling it. And honestly, like after having Adam and with Lila and Lauren, I know we talked about this a little bit with our birth stories, but I didn't have hardly any postpartum anxiety or depression with Lila or Lauren. And honestly, before I had kids, I probably would have heard. And this is like stupid because I feel a lot of people probably are in this boat. But before I had kids, I probably would have heard a mom talk about that. And I would have been like, oh, well, that's just like get over it. Or like, it's probably made up in your brain. Like you're just freaked out. But honestly, after going through something like that, like it's amazing how many people probably go through and suffer through that stuff and don't talk to anybody or don't talk about it. And after having Adam, I had like a couple pretty decent dips where I was like struggling. I was like, I don't know how to mentally get out of this funk that I'm in. Like, what do I do? I'm not a huge proponent of taking medication. Like, if I can figure out a way to, mentally challenge myself to do a mindset change or something to get myself out of something, like I'd rather, at least give it my all
I'm the same way.
In that situation before I take medication. And it's nothing against anybody that takes medication at the first sign of it or at any sign. If do whatever works for you at any point in your life. But for me, like, I know personally that I would rather try to figure it out on my own before I went that route, or at least exhaust every possibility before I just personally wanted to do that. So, after having Adam and going through that, I kind of was like up and down, trying to figure out, like, what am I doing here? Like, why do I feel so weird?
Yeah.
And I finally got to a pretty good place. And then this pandemic happened. And like, no joke, the last couple weeks, I've really had to challenge myself to be like, you got to snap out of it. Like, yes, there's things you need to be informed about. And yes, like, it's serious. And a lot of people are falling ill. And it's, you have to socially distance and all these things that legitimately I had to think about.
Yeah.
But I panicked myself into a freaking panic attack a couple times. And it's scary.
You told me today, you were like, I feel like I'm going to have a panic attack. And I was like, all I could think about was like, I want lunch.
And that exactly is like why I appreciate you as a person, because when you're just thinking about lunch and I'm having a panic attack, I'm like, thank God.
How long has my light been on?
I don't know.
Our kids get my phone and they do weird things. Okay.
But it legitimately helps when I am feeling something like that. It helps looking around the room and seeing somebody who's not feeling that. And I can focus my energy on like, okay, this person's normal. And I just told you this today. I was like, most of the time when I get anxious, for example, the airport thing, great example. I can start feeling my feelings and feel all anxious. And then I can look around at everyone else and I'm like, okay, hey, Carly, don't freak
Reality
out.
check.
Everybody else is totally normal.
Yeah.
It's fine. So for somebody like me in this situation who's like, okay, Carly, you're freaking out. And then I go on social media. I'm like, no, I'm not freaking out. Everybody else is freaking out. We need to all freak out together. And it just like, it spirals. So I guess what the important thing is.
I liked that you said yesterday, I can't remember what we were talking about, but you said, I don't know why you're not so freaked out. And I was like, I'm just not. And you were like, well, if you'd be checking out sources and doing research and stuff, then like you'd be freaked out. And I was like, why would I need to do that? You're doing it for me and you're telling me all about it.
I know. I think I gave you
tip number 1 on how to piss off your anxious wife. Tell her that she's overly anxious and that you're learning all of the information from her.
But you're not wrong. Like, and see
that look you gave me. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be the person that you take all this out on.
Well, and what's really interesting though is like so part of the way that I manage some of my anxiety in life is information. So I try to gather as much information as I can from like, credible sources, actual human beings. I talk to people. Like I'm a talker. I get talking when I get weird. But I like to understand information and data and part of that is sifting through the stuff that's not relevant or that is using a fear tactic to try to like scare you into doing something. And part of that is just, really trying to take information from different sources and fully understand something. So of course, with so many unknowns in this situation, this is a novel virus. This isn't something that they've had studies done on. There's a vaccine that they've done, a lot of large data informational studies. There's just not that information. So basically, it's like fair game for anyone to come up with their opinion or, professionally or personally or whatever. And when you take in so much information that is so widespread where it's like, during this situation, I've heard like there's nothing you need to worry about, just wash your hands and stay at home. And then I've heard like from personal people that I actually know that are doctors or nurses, like they seem pretty panicked. And that to me is, it's like getting those two different sources of information where you're like, okay, these are really conflicting.
Yeah.
And not being able to really sort through but also have it generically or, really naturally be like, that's just, it is what it is. There's so little information on what's going on right now. And so many people are trying to like offer any kind of, here's my professional advice as a doctor, or, my advice to you to take care of yourself and your family as a nurse is this, or like, here's my conspiracy theory. And you're like, God damn it. Like every time I read, like, there's just, and like you can hear the anxiety in my voice right now. This is what happens in my brain when I go on the internet. Exactly. When I go on the internet, this is what my brain does.
Anxious, rambling. But it's okay.
What can my anxious name be? Like I need to name it to tame it. What's my
I don't know. I mean,
anxious Annie?
I think it's realistic. We were talking about this yesterday about like it's ironic that this situation with this virus happened because basically mankind has come up with a way to prolong people's lives to the point where like we're overpopulating areas. Like China is just an example of where there's just a shitload of people that are, I mean, like 200 years ago, there wouldn't be that many people, like medicine and just our knowledge of staying healthy and living longer has increased, where it's like this came, God, I'm just going to be ignorant right now if I have to. This, like, from what I understand, it basically came from an area where people are eating all kinds of crazy shit because there's just so many people, right? So it's like, like I was saying this yesterday, where it was like, there's just an overpopulation of people that are now doing things that normal people in normal situations would not be doing. So the problem was caused by this overpopulation of people. And now it's like everybody's in this pandemic because it's like nobody wants to die. We're like, nobody wants to die. But nature and like the way of the world is like these things come through and it wipes out a lot of people. And it's like, that's how nature works. It's like only the strong survive is like, it's said all the time, but that's what it means. And it's like, so we've figured out ways for people that are, health risks or elderly to dodge these things in nature and keep on living, like, he said there was a lady that was like 103 or something that came down with the coronavirus and kicked it because like the medical help was so good. It's like, I mean, this is going to sound like a jerk, but like, okay, so you're 103, you kick coronavirus, like, what are you going to do? Like you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to be 103 and a half now. Like, okay. But it's like kind of like when a forest fire happens, like it burns out all the dead stuff. It burns out all the unhealthy growth. And the next year it comes back and it flourishes and it becomes stronger. And it's like, it's weird and it's ironic that this type of a situation, and as sad as it is that people are dying, and it's like, I mean, it's a fucking tragic situation where people are suffering, which, I mean, nobody should ever have to suffer, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but it's like, there are other things that do the same thing to the human race every year, but it's like, man, we're just getting to a point where we're getting good at changing the natural way of life.
It is really interesting, and your forest fire example is very interesting to me, because if you think about what the earth was like before humans populated it at all, and it was just animals, like in the natural course of a forest fire, it would just burn until it rained, or it would burn until all the trees were gone, or all the fuel was gone, and then it would, I mean, what's really crazy is, I've had the opportunity or the experience to walk through a forest that burned and see the regrowth. And it is like oddly beautiful. Like seeing all of the charred, burned everything, and then like the green come up through it.
It's so much richer.
It makes you really like, because honestly, the like carbon charred whatever, it actually provides nutrients into the ground once it all burns up for like the new stuff to grow through. And I understand, you said that to me the other day when I was kind of like minorly freaking out, and you were like, and again, like
just to be clear.
Yeah.
Nobody deserves to get sick.
Ever.
Nobody deserves to lose their life to an illness, which is incredibly sad. And I would never want, friends or family or anybody to suffer through this stuff. But I mean, like me being a hunter, being in tune with, like, here's another example. Me being a hunter and understanding when you get outside of this man-made belief system of like number one, people believe that they can outsmart nature. People believe that they can outsmart plagues and weird stuff. Like people that live in, I'm not going to go there. People that live in areas where they're detached from like even this type of living, where pretty much everything is done where you don't have to think about it. Like your heat is manufactured by people working in the city. You have clean water. Your waste is disposed of. It's like you don't have to keep up any type of outdoor anything.
Yeah.
Like, we've lived in those situations. You get into this idea, and especially if there's not like power outages or whatever where you're struggling, it turns life into like this easy thing where you're just like, I'm like coasting along and living life or whatever. And me being an outdoorsman and a hunter, I've seen firsthand what it's like to be an animal.
To not have those things.
Yeah, it's like, you talk about, like, for humans, it's this thing where it's like we're the top of the food chain. We act like we're untouchable. It could not be further from the truth. Like if a human being was out in the woods in the eastern part of the United States, or hell, the western part, like talk to anybody that's been attacked by a grizzly. Like you are not the top of the food chain by far.
Yeah.
And it just shows how fragile the human race really is.
Yeah.
Even like in today's world where, like a pack of coyotes could kill one of my kids quick, but we have talked ourselves into being like this invincible force, like, oh, we're smarter than everything,
right.
So it's just a sad thing, because when things like this come, out of the woodworks, it basically levels your brain.
Yeah.
It brings you back to like, hey,
oh shit,
knock, knock, knock.
Yeah.
Like Mother Nature's here.
Yeah.
Check yourselves.
Yeah. That's actually
that's really what's going on.
That's a really good way to look at it, because it's
scary.
Well, and so many people are, we all are just living with our modern day conveniences. And it's amazing too. Like when things even as simple as, hey, you can't go to the movies anymore. And hey, if you go out of your house, you might get a misdemeanor. Like those things that we take for granted that are, being shut down and canceled and taken away, and, things that we don't think about. Well, it puts it in perspective.
Think about how fucking spoiled we are. People are, where people are like, oh, like I've heard so many people joking about like, I can't go out for 2 weeks or whatever. Like it's a joke to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I just have to stay home and play video games for 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Like a month or 2 months.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, in all seriousness, and people that have visited, I have never gone to a country where people don't have clean water or sanitary food.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a joke. Like, we're people that live the type of life that we live. When this shit comes through, you and I are very low risk cases. Obviously, there are places where it's like really hitting hard, but like imagine being in a place where you don't have shelter, or imagine being in a place where you don't even have clean water to begin with.
Well, there are people in America that don't have that.
There are pockets of places where like your life is a lot harder than what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like I feel fortunate that like, oh, okay.
We have to stay in our homes.
Oh, like our podcast, like, oh my God, our kids are home from school. Boo-hoo.
Right.
There's
a ladybug up there. Sorry.
There are people that are like,
we don't even have schools.
Yeah, get out of here. And there are people that are like, I don't have food.
Right.
I mean, there are people like where Lila attends school. There are people that are still working every single day, providing meals to kids that are less fortunate than Lila
Right.
that need it, you know? So when this pandemic comes through and you're like worried about like, oh my God, I can't go out to the club.
Yeah.
Like, just remember there are families in the United States, like right down the road from us, that don't have food and rely on the meals they get at kindergarten
Well, and
for
think
their
about
kids,
too,
you know?
like,
So it's like,
yeah. And the
man,
like homeless populations right now in America too. I mean, they're like they can't shelter in place because they
dude,
don't have a shelter.
I saw, okay, so for the most part, the new app TikTok is pretty funny. There's a lot of comical, funny shit.
Yep.
I saw a guy today that kind of pissed me off, and I'll tell you what it was. So this guy goes out on his balcony with a megaphone, and he goes, "Attention!" And he's like yelling at this group of homeless people, and he's like, you know, it's been blah blah blah. It was stated by the governor that no people in groups bigger than 10. He goes, and I count 15. So like, if you guys come down with a coronavirus, it's on you. And I'm like, okay, hey, 22-year-old dick, like, check yourself, dude. Like, this is serious. And it was like, it's funny to see how, man, I can't believe I'm going to say this, entitled people are. They just think that they're entitled to live this easy, you know, whatever life. And it's like stuff like this comes through. I mean, it's no different than like when I was out in the mountains and you're walking and you're feeling good. And then you walk up on a bunch of rocks that were turned over because there was just a bear in the area. Mm-hmm. You start going, I'm not as tough as I think I am, and I better watch my back.
It's
you know,
really
it's like,
human.
It's real.
It's really human to feel vulnerable like that. And I think we lose a lot of our humanness when, you know, modern conveniences of the world and life take over, and then something like this happens. And you're exactly right. It kind of level sets. You realize like, oh shit, like I'm not invincible. I'm not like, I can't just go to the store and be like, oh, I'm good. I'll just take this. Yeah. Because sometimes there's not a cure. Sometimes there's not a vaccine. Sometimes you have to just like protect yourself by like literally hiding. Like it's scary. I mean, it's scary shit happens in the world. And, you know, if anything, oh my gosh, I will for sure come out of this experience as a different person with a different perspective. And you know, our kids are little still, but I think Lila's understanding a little bit of this. And as she gets older, you know, we'll be able to explain to her, you know, the reason you stayed home from school. And like I think she'll grasp that soon enough. But, you know, we're giving it to her in this 6-year-old or 5-year-old form that
she knows that there's something called the coronavirus.
Yeah. They talked about it at school, and we've talked to her a little bit about it. And
she just doesn't like that she can't go into the store.
I know. Well, like, and I'm sure we
went on a deer drive. Because we're country folk. We went on a deer drive last night just to drive around and get out of the house and look at deer in the cornfields. And the girls were like so excited because they thought they were going to go to the store. And we're like, sorry, it's going to be a while.
It's a good learning experience, I think, for them too, to understand. And I'm glad that you're my quarantine buddy. And thank you for being so calm and chill and helping my brain through this.
You got that. Hey, here's a little side note. My dumbass walked right into Carly's office today in boxers and a backwards hat right during the middle of Carly's video conference with her professional team at her job. And I walked in and I heard one of her coworkers go, "Oh, there he is."
There's a husband.
And I went, "Oh," and I said, "Fat gut and all hanging out." And the funny thing was,
you didn't fully come in. It was half your body. You didn't.
No, it was the whole thing. I saw it. If you're watching this and you know who you are, the person that said, "There he is," I want you to know that I don't typically wear those stupid looking boxers. I even told Carly last night, I'm going to wear my stupid boxers tonight because I don't want to waste my good boxers sleeping. And I just hadn't changed out of my boxers. And in all fairness, the door was wide open. The kids were in the office with you.
They snuck in.
And I walked in trying to get them to come eat SpaghettiOs and meatballs. And I had it all hanging out.
And then the best part of this
good introduction.
The best part of this whole thing is I got an email today with a YouTube link that said, "Don't be a Jennifer." And I don't know how many people are aware of what's going on right now in the world, but a lot of people are working from home. A lot of people are on Zoom meetings for the first time. A lot of people are experiencing different styles of work. And
this was cringeworthy.
Apparently, there's a lady named Jennifer. Poor Jennifer. She didn't realize her video was on or forgot and took her laptop with her during a meeting to the bathroom, set the laptop down on the floor or a stool,
and filmed herself,
pulled her pants down and started to go to the bathroom on this like Brady Bunch style conference call where there were like 10 different
Cheeks
faces.
Out. And the lady started dying laughing.
They were all like one of them was like this, and the other one was like, "Oh, hey, whoa, like,
and
time out."
The lady that was presenting was like, "Did I miss something?
What happened?"
And some guy goes, "I didn't see anything."
I didn't see anything. And then the other lady goes, "Nothing happened. Just keep going." And it was like,
some girl goes, "Oh, poor Jennifer."
Poor Jennifer. Oh my God.
And I did that the same day.
Ironically, it happened like that happened this, and I honestly thought maybe that was being sent out because of what happened.
I would have rather done what she did, where she had a full shirt on, and basically all you could see was from like her belly button down to like her like mid calf, just like, and it was from the side. It wasn't like her hoo-ha was hanging out, but you could see like her side profile sitting on the top. It was the opposite for me. I had basically one size too small boxers on, a hat, and no other clothing. You could see everything. That was a very awkward moment.
It didn't help that Lauren walked in just her underwear.
She was naked too.
I'm sorry, everybody. There's a lot of learning curves going on.
I have less than 12 hours to come up with a good excuse to why I was walking around in boxers at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
I think you should make an appearance on our next call and just
walking with boxers
over your pants.
Hey guys, I'm back.
Oh man.
Well, I will say this. I don't think. Yes, you're anxious. And yes, I can be ignorant, as you've put it nicely in the past.
You're not ignorant. You're just blissfully unaware sometimes.
But I don't think your anxiety is uncalled for. I think you're probably very average when it comes to the rest of the United States and the rest of the world right now. Yeah. I think if we were in a different place, like a different country that wasn't doing so hot, you would be like more calm than most people.
Probably.
I would say. Because it's a fucked up world out there right now. And I'm sitting here with a hoarse voice, hoping it's just allergies. So, anyway, thanks for letting us ramble about this, everybody.
Yeah, and
I want to know from them, whoever's watching this, how do you stack up?
On a scale from 1 to 10.
If you're in a married couple situation, which one of you are you? Are you more like Carly or are you more like me? Leave us a comment below, and I'm curious to know. Or send us a text if you know us. If you know us personally, send us a text, because I'm curious to know how other people are doing too. Because usually when you go, "How you guys doing?" They're like, "Oh, we're good."
Yeah, actually,
nobody's honest like this.
Also,
usually.
in the comments, like, or wherever, please use this podcast, if nothing else, as just like a sounding board. I don't know how many people are going to watch this and respond, but like, tell us honestly, like, how is everybody doing? Like, whoever is watching, whoever is thinking anything about all the stuff going on, like, I was as honest as I could have been in this situation, I think. And,
I'll tell you one thing. If my condition gets worse and I start breaking out in a fever and shit, I'm going to be like that TikTok where it's like,
when it just gets closer and closer.
It's like more serious. Yeah.
And I think, honestly, this is going to be like, I don't think this is lame. I think this is warranted, but like, thank you from the bottom of my heart to anybody that is a nurse, a doctor, a technician, a specialist, like anybody who's out there right now putting their lives on the line, apparently without the correct protective equipment. As I've heard, people are running out and there are shortages and all, like,
a lot of people complain about their jobs.
Oh my God.
I honestly can't imagine what that would be like.
It like makes me
like, I don't think from what I've heard, I don't think it would bother me knowing that I have to go into a place where it is. Like, because I've gone into the stores, like grocery stores, fully knowing that it could be like on everybody. And I'm like, well, you got to do it. And it's like, I know a lot of people are like that, but the mental, like the sadness part of what people are witnessing right now with people being sick and people dying, and like, I don't know how I deal with that.
Well,
So
I think it's
props to anybody that has to deal with that on a daily basis.
Well, and anybody that's in the medical field right now at all, like, even just regular routine things, or, people having babies and medical professionals having to tell people who are going in to have a baby, for example, like, hey, you have to have one visitor or no visitors, or you can't have a support person. Like, I can't imagine what I would have done if you weren't there with me, or if anybody would. Like, I'm not saying, oh my God, I'm going to get overwhelmed if I talk about this.
She's not going to sleep at all tonight. She's going to be up all night thinking about this stuff, Googling stuff.
I like feel so many feels when stuff like this happens. But so seriously, thank you to anybody who is out there being a nurse or a doctor or anything to do with anything in the medical field right now. And also thank you to anybody that's in the restaurant, grocery, like sanitation, infrastructure, anything that is an essential, position where people are still having to go out and work with the public and, take care of things that are essential. Like, thank you. I feel so worthless with what I'm doing, and the fact that I just get to like be at home and just do my stupid job and like not have to do anything that's, really critically serious to life as we know it. So
thank you.
I think
big thank you. Yeah, I do. We're going to wrap it up. So anyway, our time limit is up. Our alarm clock is ringing, AKA our baby's crying. So
let us know. Sorry, I cut you off. Keep going.
I was just going to say, if you guys like this, sorry, we missed a couple podcasts. We're going to try to make up for it and post maybe a couple this week and a couple next week to get back on track. I can't believe I'm going to say this after I'm talking about being entitled. If you guys like our podcast, thank you for the people that have actually subscribed to it. That actually gives us a little motivation to keep going. So if you're new or if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give us a like or comment or something. It gives us that little motivation to stay up late like this at night and crank these out for you. So anyway.
Yeah, and I think
we got to let you go.
Yeah. So the next one too, if anybody wants, I really, really want to do this. So help me convince Matt, like a personality test or some type of like an Enneagram. That's a cool one because it's very like in depth, but anything that's like, I would love to do a personality test with you and like read our differences and like how we stack up as a married couple and also individuals. So anyways, if anybody wants that, let me know because I can make it happen.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you on the next one, okay?
Stay safe. Wash your hands. Stay home. Just
stay home. Wash your hands.
Lay low. Okay.
Okay. Bye guys.